Entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. You have to be adventure loving in life. If you have to be an entrepreneur, somewhere a win-win-win got created in this entire journey. Win for the businesses, win for the consumers, and win for our digital runners who could make money living in the same place where they live. We counseled around 3 million citizens and got 2 million or something of them vaccinated. Facebook made a documentary on us, and that documentary got featured in Stuttgart Festival in Germany this week. They feel empowered, they feel connected, and they have this thing ki, abhi I don't need to leave my village.
Yes, we'll start. So first of all, Anupam and I are very fortunate today to be speaking to a wonderful woman entrepreneur, Arti Gupta Agrawal. Thank you, Arti, for speaking with us. Arti is a distinguished NITIE alumni and also the co-founder and CEO of Anaxee Digital Runners. Anaxee is a very unique and inspiring startup. We'll hear about it more, but it's working to build the largest data and reach network for India. So I guess without further ado, let's dive straight in. Arti, why don't you take us a little bit back in time and tell us about your background, how this entrepreneurship journey started for you, and how was the seed for Anaxee born?
So I usually say that people say I'm entrepreneur by chance. I'm an entrepreneur by matrimony. I did my engineering, SGSITS electronics, then went to NITIE, did my post graduation, went to PNG, was working there happily, and then Govind, who happens to be my co-founder as well. So he was at that time in Nirma Labs. Nirma Labs was a technology business incubator back in 2006, and he was working on an idea there, and he desperately needed a co-founder. So he kind of married me. That's what he tells me.
Very good.
Happened. So back in 2007, 2008, he was working on vein recognition technology, which is a biometric modality, just like fingerprint or iris. And in 2008 in India, even fingerprint wasn't that popular, and vein was a new modality. So we started working on that. For 2 years, we were there. We were working in Nirma Labs. We built the technology. We have a US patent for the technology. And then in 2008, it was global meltdown. We weren't able to raise funds to build the product itself. In 2010, Aadhaar happened, and that was the biggest biometric opportunity in the world. I mean, until and unless China did something like that, Aadhaar, UIDI does not have a replica around. So that is when we started working with fingerprint devices. And for next 4 or 5 years, we continued doing fingerprint devices and fingerprint technology. We were a Aadhaar certified and empaneled device supplier. And in 2015, when Geo was happening, it was you can say somehow the dots connected. And when Geo happened, we just realized that India is an assisted economy. So while the way Geo onboarded its subscribers was completely digital, you had your KYC, which was digital. You could make your payments, which was digital. You in fact signed your, so when you take a mobile SIM, you sign for the plan, right? Even the e-sign was digital. In spite of all this, you needed a Geo executive to assist you through that process. And that is when we realized that, and we were very gung-ho about how the fintech was coming up and having worked so many years within the Aadhaar ecosystem, we could see the immense opportunities which this system brought, and the way it brought presence-less, paperless opportunities for people to take loans, people to do anything, right? And internet penetration was also going up. So Anaxee Digital Runners essentially began as an on-demand eKYC platform. So we thought what Geo did, there would be a lot more players who would be wanting to do that kind of work, where they would want to go out and reach out to rural consumers and consumers in tier 2, tier 3 cities, because essentially what was happening was the geographical boundaries were getting diluted because everything was presenceless. So even a two people startup in Bangalore could give loan to a person in Bhadoi in Uttar Pradesh. It didn't matter to him where that person belonged, as long as everything was great. So, and that was also the time in 2015 when Aadhaar enrollments were finished. I mean, 100 crore Indians had already got enrolled in Aadhaar ecosystem. So there were a lot of Aadhaar enrollment operators who were trained to use fingerprint devices and who were trained to use technology and internet to do enrollments. And these people were also getting jobless. And we knew these people since we had been working in the Aadhaar ecosystem. So there was a natural match where we were doing on demand KYC, and these were the people who were trained to do that kind of KYC. And that is how Digital Runners got created. But when we started working in that ecosystem, when we went to villages and tier 2, tier 3 geographies, we kind of realized that uh, it is not just KYC or verification that is needed. There's so many products, brands, and services which are not accessible to rural consumers. But their aspirations, their needs, even their buying propensity is there to buy those products and services. But since the rural population is hugely scattered, brands do not tend to look at that population. It doesn't seem to them as a viable business. And that is when our vision got broader and we just figured out that we're just not an on demand KYC platform. We want to take businesses to these consumers, and we want businesses and consumers to meet. And while we did so, we wanted to create employment for rural youth who tends to live in that place. So somewhere a win-win-win got created in this entire journey. Win for the businesses, win for the consumers, and win for our digital runners who could make money living in the same place where they live. So that is how digital runners got created, and we've been doing that for now for last 5 years. One of the aha moments, you can say, or one of the very proud moments happened to us during COVID. So during the second wave of COVID, we had these runners, and that is when we kind of and till the first wave of COVID, it was okay. The COVID was not going to the villages or to the tier 3, tier 4 towns. It was broadly limited to the top 50 cities, metros, correct? But when the second wave came, it started hitting these areas. And the only way to probably prevent it was to get those people vaccinated. And we had all these runners who were anyways out of job. So as a social initiative, we just started a vaccination. So it started with saying that we would register them on COVID, because we were hearing that these people are not able to book their slots and so on, and our runners could do that very easily. It was a natural fitment for us, and we thought we'll do it out of our own goodwill. And then we spoke to Sandeep, so Polygon. We got in touch with him, and then Crypto Relief Fund happened, and they kind of sponsored us to do around 100,000 vaccinations for rural citizens, where we were doing awareness and COVID registration, everything that had to be done to get them vaccinated. And this kind of picked up, and we could eventually do almost 3 million. We counseled around 3 million citizens and got 2 million or something of them vaccinated. So, so it became so that gave us a real. So it was like the reason why we started Digital Runners came true. I mean, we could empower so many rural youth to get work. I mean, 10,000 of them getting employed at the time when employment was a struggle, and so many people getting vaccinated. So it was a very happy moment for us as Anaxee. So yeah, Facebook made a documentary on us, and that documentary got featured in Stuttgart Festival in Germany this week.
Wonderful.
I'm very excited about what you are telling, but I want to take you a little back and ask you a fundamental question on why you named Anaxee, what is the meaning of Anaxee? If you can decipher that for us. Also, when I read your website, I go through that there is also an element of Bharat startup, and very nicely you have presented each, break down this Bharat into Bha, Ra, Tal. So if you can touch upon that, and if you can use some examples to elaborate this, it will be really helpful.
So coming to Anaxee, so Anaxee was named in 2007, and uh, so Anaxee comes from a Greek word anax, which means master, and double E was added to make it unique. As far as Bharat is concerned, uh, the fact that geography is something that can stop people to access goods and services is something that doesn't go well with us. That is something that sounds like unacceptable. I'm in Indore doesn't mean I can't have access to something that I want, right? And
Yeah.
Indore may not be true, but if you go down to smaller place, I mean, since you both know Indore, if you go to a place like Harda, or if you go to a place even smaller than that, there's so many things that won't be available to you, customers there, right? And back then when we started, one of the biggest thing that was on back of our mind was Mediclaim. A person who lives in Harda actually won't opt for a Mediclaim because he's not going to come to 100 kilometers to Indore to go to a hospital to claim his Mediclaim, right? Because the registered hospital would be in Indore and stuff like that, right? And at that time, we were thinking that what if insurance companies wanted to list local hospitals? They would want to have a process. They would want somebody to do that. And who will do that? Because nobody's, and for anybody, an insurance company doesn't want to employ his people to go to Harda and do it. They would need a partner who can do that for them, right? And those are the kind of things that is the reason why we're so passionate about Bharat and being able to bring those things to consumers there.
But anything specific about the, when you are breaking it down into three letters?
The way it is Bhav, Ras and Tal, a symphony gets created only when all these three are in sync, right? And the same thing is true when I said that we want a win-win-win for everybody. And the same is true when to make an ecosystem work, every piece of the puzzle has to set. And the way that symphony gets created is when all stakeholders, including businesses, including my consumers, including my runners, all three of them work in that synchronization is how it is.
Tell us a little bit about some of the other type of projects that Anaxee takes up so that we better understand this model and how your ecosystem comes together.
So any organization that is looking to reach to consumers in tier 2, tier 3 towns can come to us and we support them with their market research needs, outreach needs, they have any promotions to do, stuff like that. And they want to know which geographies to target. So we do primary research, give them those insights, and then take them to those markets. So we worked with Escorts, which is a tractor manufacturer. So they had this list of 20,000 villages which were not doing great in their portfolio. So we went to these 20,000 villages across multiple states to generate leads for them, to get them there. So people were interested to buy tractors from these 20,000 villages. We worked with Dehat, which is an agri-tech startup, to help onboard farmers onto their platform. So whenever Dehat opens a new Dehat center, before opening that center, they would want to know what is the typical market for them. What are the seeds that go there? What are the crops that are sown there? So we do all this research, onboard those farmers onto their platform. Wellspun. So if you would have seen Wellspun launched an economy range with Amitabh Bachchan recently, right? I'm not recently, almost 4 years back now. But before they launched, they wanted to have an idea of who would be the retailers who would keep those. So we onboarded almost 30,000 retailers from them across 20 cities.
And you speak about digital runners being at the core of these projects, right? And you are creating immense opportunities through digital runners, especially for rural youth. So tell us a little bit about the word digital runner. What does it mean? And specifically, how do you work with these digital runners, providing them opportunities? Maybe if you could take an example of a story of a digital runner, it would help.
So digital runners are rural youth. They are gig workers. So they get paid on a task basis. That is why. And the word digital runners came because, as I said, we started with an on demand KYC, right? So these were people, local runners, who would use digital means to connect the consumers. So that is how the word digital runners got created. And a digital runner is typically, he's a smart guy with a smartphone living in that village who just doesn't want to leave his village and come to a city and work. He wants to stay in his village, and he wants to have opportunities where he can earn a decent livelihood living in that small town or village. That is the persona of my digital runner. And it is like some of our runners have earned 40,000 a month, 25,000 a month. And it is like you have to hear stories from them. I would not be the right person to tell their stories, but they feel empowered, they feel connected, and they have this thing ki, abhi I don't need to leave my village. I don't need to go out. That's a very fulfilling thing to have.
So moving on, I have a question, which is while there is a lot of angle, which is a people side to this whole enterprise,
Yes.
there is also, I feel, a strong role of technology to this.
Correct.
So if you can help us understand in this whole journey of your, while it began also as a technology company for the fingerprinting technology, however,
Yes.
how it has evolved, or what is the current role of technology that you see in bridging and reaching out to so many digital runners as well as to your clients and customers?
So I think technology is the biggest enabler in this process. So, what we offer our customers is a consistent delivery across geography. And when I say we want to remove geography as a barrier, so so technology has helped us scale to 40,000 digital runners, because otherwise having 40,000 digital runners onboarded onto your platform and then uh, training them and then ensuring that the work that they do meets a certain quality standards. So everything that we do gets tracked through our app. At the back end, there's a lot of quality check that happens. So, for example, when you do a market research, you need to understand that a lot of times it happens that a certain area would have similar feedback, right?
Right.
And then human biases play a lot of role. The runner tends to assume that this is how it is. Submit. So, for example, you go to a village, 80% of people would be sowing wheat, suppose,
Right.
because that soil supports, correct? But and then the runner starts assuming that everybody is sowing wheat. And that is when technology comes into picture. We can see patterns coming out. We can figure out that, okay, up till now, this is okay, but this is where the bias has started to come in. And then we go back and then we cross check and then we kind of help runners also remove those biases. So, in that sense, technology has really empowered us to be able to deliver consistent value to our customers. In case of Project Swaraksha also, since Project Swaraksha in itself was something new for the social sector also, because social sector people don't use that much of technology, right? But but in commercial, when we work for businesses, they're very particular about the deliveries. So we could go back and track whether the person who received his first dose has received his second dose or not. It's time for his second dose, correct? And we could prompt our runners to go back and cross check and make sure that the second dose is also done. So technology has been huge enabler for us, and that is how it has also helped us keep a relatively lean organization. So we are a flat organization. We have our runners, and then we mostly have my own team. We don't have a layered organization where I need a supervisor, I need a district manager, or something like that. That has been possible only because of technology.
Wonderful. And since you touched upon this technology working as an advantage for you, tell us, how does it put you against your competition? First of all, is there competition in this industry?
So I don't think we have a structured player like us in the market. But yes, there are smaller local agencies that have been working in the market. But I don't think we have a structured player like us in the market. And that gives us a definite advantage, because when you work with larger clients, they prefer having a structured person organization to speak to, and it's a hassle free experience for our customer. For them it is very easy, and Anaxee will take care of whatever is happening, and they just get what they want. So yeah.
A little bit about how the company is funded, or is it bootstrapped, and what kind of challenges that you know.
Yeah, so as an organization, we raised our initial rounds of funding. We got funded through the Angel Network in Indore, which is Swan Angel Network. And then later, we also raised some funds from Let's Venture. And Urias Venture Partner is one of the institutional investors with us. But we raised our last round in 2018. 2020 was when we had to go back to raise the round, and COVID happened. So, a lot of times people use this blessing in disguise, but I never believed that. And I was very, very upset when COVID happened, because that was the time when we were ready to go to raise our next round. But then, by God's grace, we became profitable, and now we are profitable, and we are not raising any funds because now we became profitable. So yeah. So, we lost you, Anupam, again.
I think, Anupam, your boat.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are. Yes.
I think there are a lot of monsoons, and the boats are busy somewhere else. My boat is not working. Anyhow, so what I was trying to understand, ki while this journey is very, very inspiring, I'm sure that you would have your own set of challenges that you would
Yes.
have faced during your journey, right? So if you can also touch upon some of these broad challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome it, and if some of them are still a looming challenge that you see, you can.
So the hardest time we had was first wave of COVID. We are a feet on street model, right? We're shared feet on street, digital runners, and you have a lockdown and you cannot work on field. I mean, that was the hardest time we had. We were like down to 10% of our revenues on a monthly basis, right? And initially you can, okay, for 1 or 2 months, you are all right in that phase. Okay, this will get over. But the lockdown keeps getting extended, and then things don't pick up. And I told you that in 2020 we were ready to raise funds, right? So at that time we weren't profitable. So, and then you have salaries to pay, and then you have cash flow issues, and I think it was one of the hardest time I have had. I had to actually let go my team. I let go some senior people from my team because I couldn't afford them. Some of the people who had stayed with me for long, I had to ask them to take a salary cut. They took almost I mean they took 40% of their salary. They almost took 60% of pay cut for the next 3 or 4 months till we picked up again. So I think that was one of the hardest times in my entire journey that I have gone through. And then, there are always struggles. So I think entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. You have to be adventure loving in life if you have to be an entrepreneur, because it's not a straight journey. There are always ups and downs. Then every day there's another challenge waiting for you. So yeah.
I can 100% echo with you. However, the scale that I'm operating is very, very small compared to what you're doing. However, I can 100% echo with you. Every day is a different day, and you have to be prepared कि आज क्या होने वाला है. It's so unpredictable, and
Yeah.
one will be surprised to see. अच्छा ये भी problem होती है. ऐसा भी हो सकता है.
नहीं, आप भगवान में ज्यादा मानने लगते हो.
अल्लाह बांधने लगता है.
You actually start believing that there is a divine power and बस आप रोज सुबह यही सोच के आते हो कि आज कोई नया वो नहीं, सब बस ठीक ठीक चल जाए.
Totally get it. So coming to NITIE for a brief time, that since you are from NITIE and supply chain background, and currently you are also managing operations as a
Yes.
portfolio here. So how did education at NITIE help you groom, or was there a learnings that you took and applied here in your work?
So I think somehow I think NITIE was one of the best things that happened to me, if you were to ask me. One, I think inherently I am an operations person. I mean, I have absolutely no doubt about this. Okay? And those skills got more structure going to NITIE. And I will also say that I was like very, very lucky to go to an organization like PNG, which runs by the book. So whatever I learned at NITIE, PNG was like, हाँ ऐसे ही करते हैं. ऑपरेशन मैनेजमेंट आप बुक से पढ़ लो और पीएनजी के प्रोसेस से पढ़ लो, बात एक ही है. ऐसा कभी कभी ऐसा लगता है पीएनजी के प्रोसेस से बुक लिखी गई होगी. But I think so that learning is kind, and then as you rightly earlier pointed out, we from a technology company we have a lot of people on board, and SOPs and processes as well are very important. So I still say that I only believe in two P's: people and processes. So so if you have processes and if you have empowered people, that is all it takes to run operations. So I think I do pretty good at that.
Very, very well said. I think one other interesting angle is you also have a unique, first of all, your venture itself is unique, right? On the lines of socio-economic entrepreneurship. Plus, given that you're a women entrepreneur in this field, so it makes the combination even more unique. So, from that combination, were there any additional challenges that you faced, or how was your journey any different? If you can touch upon that.
So I think I have been super, super lucky. I've been super lucky in the sense that from day one, my investors, my customers, my employees, everybody I have interacted, I have not even once felt that I am a women entrepreneur. I mean, the amount of comfort they have talking to me. In fact, in certain places, Govind will tell you that अगर XYZ person से बात करनी होती है तो I send Arti because it is easier for her to handle somebody. So I have had that, you can say, luxury or luck. But obviously, being a woman comes with its own certain set of challenges. I mean, you have kids to take care of. We live in Indore, which is our hometown. So there are always certain amount of social responsibilities that come to you. That is always there, but I think I'm one of the luckiest person in all these sense because I have a super supportive family. My mother-in-law is like, so अगर ऐसा कोई ऐसे बोले, if you live in a joint family, so I can always say that behind a successful female there is a very supportive mother-in-law.
Oh, very well said.
So I've never had to worry about kids. I mean, they're like, मम्मी के पास है, मम्मी देख लेगी वैसा वाला.
Excellent.
And obviously it comes with your capability to trust also. See, so long back I was listening to Indra Nooyi and that thing stuck with me is like, ask for help, right? And you have to trust with that help. So I trust with that help. I totally trust in the fact that okay, it's fine. whatever she does is fine. So that's it.
And then coming from that, like having experienced it yourself, what would be your advice to people who are sitting at the fence, probably either starting off as an entrepreneur or thinking of being an entrepreneur? What would be your message to them?
So, as I said, it's a lifestyle, and you have to be prepared for that lifestyle. Second, I think resilience is one thing which is very, very important, because there would be times when you would feel extremely low, and then either you have a very strong support system or you yourself are that resilient. So in my case, I think Govind is the support system. He's a perennial optimistic. So kitna bhi bura situation ho, he can always say, "Don't worry, we'll संभाल लेंगे, चिंता मत करो, संभाल लेंगे, ठीक है?" So that comfort has to come. And if you are all alone and if you are not that resilient and you do not have the capability to say what he says, there would be times which would be difficult for you. So yes, it would be. And especially I think there are few times where you are financially struggling, right? When, like I said, that when the first wave of COVID happened, that is when your support system really matters. तो वो दिन आएंगे, उन दिनों से बचा नहीं जा सकता है.
So now, can you also help us understand, because managing people is very tough job. It is not easy.
Yes.
Each one has different set of expectations, different profile, different background, and you handle people of Bharat, across states, across communities, across geographies.
Yes.
How you manage this?
So I think one of the most important thing about handling people is to be able to, empathy is a very misused word, so but that is actually the right word. You need to understand, one is you need to understand where that person is coming from, and you cannot, if you don't understand that, you won't be able to help that person. I think I have had, I पता नहीं यार, मुझे ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि मैं लकी रही हूँ कि मुझे बहुत अच्छे लोग मिले हैं काम करने के लिए.
I think जो अच्छे लोग होते हैं वो ऐसे ही बोलते हैं.
But I think one thing that worked for me with people is that I have, ये एक आप कह सकते हो कि ये स्ट्रेंथ भी है और वीकनेस भी है. मैंने जितने लोगों के साथ काम किया, I worked with them very early on, so I had a lot of opportunity to mold them and fit them into the entire system. So that is one thing that worked for me really well. And ये पीपल मैनेजमेंट के चैलेंजेस वही होते हैं जो होते हैं, कुछ their expectation versus your expectation. It only works when you are able to give them constructive feedback, and then they also need to feel empowered कि वो जो कर रहे हैं वो सही है. काफी बार ऐसा होता है कि लोग बहुत अच्छी चीजें कर सकते हैं, बस उन्हें they just want somebody to stand behind and say, "And there, whatever happens, we'll see." That is the only thing that they need to know. And if they know that you are there, they'll do their best. So.
All right. It was great talking to you once again. Thank you so much, Arti.